Hey, comic book fan. Today we're talking about a new comic today, Athena, Goddess of Thunder by Comics League, a YouTube channel that talks about comics, and a friend of the channel as well. He created this comic book and I was blessed enough to check it out. And this comic really has a lot of the traditional aspects that you would see within the characters like Superman and Wonder Woman. And it starts off with this madman, and he's pretty much running through this planet trying to find the goddess herself. And it's interesting the take and the turn that this story decides to go and how it's written. And I have a few critiques, I would say, about this book and a few things I actually like about this story. It starts off, like I said, with this man running through this planet trying to find the princess. And instead of her staying and fighting, instead of her fighting for her people, they get her out of there, right? Even though she's supposed to be the protector of this world, even though that they're supposed to rely on her, she was the first one out of there. And everybody pretty much sacrificed themselves to get her to safety. And I feel like now this could be a part of the overall story, like arc, right? I don't think this is just going to be the only book in the series, but I feel like she should have at least had an encounter with him personally. I feel like the story should have taken a slower pace and build up, giving us an oversight on the world and this land that she is in, giving us more of a backstory on why she would be a threat, or why would she be a challenge, or somebody that this being would want to go after, and why people would sacrifice themselves for her, what kind of person she is, personality wise. Those are the things that I would have wanted to see in the story, in the beginning of it. But as the story goes on, a lot of people pretty much die for her to be what perceives to be the only survivor of this attack on this entire world. And this is not like a Wonder Woman where it's just an island. She was in space, right? She's an alien pretty much. And she goes from her planet and crash lands on Earth. But one thing I do like is that she does reflect on this happened, and she even calls herself a coward because of this situation. So I feel like there's character development and a character build there. I feel like that was the opening for that to happen. Like I said, I feel like she should have had an encounter with this being first, and at least try to fight them off, who realized she's not beating him and everybody on her planet is screwed. So she tries to save everybody else and she survives a different way. I would have went that route, with the story, because and that's not like saying a story is bad. I feel like a story is good when I start to think about stuff like that. And we get to this part in the story where she has, her brother, somebody that she has known very well, that turns on her. And like I said, I feel like the story, at least the first book, should have given us those relationships, right? Shown us that there are people that act like they like her, but they really don't. They're waiting on her downfall. I feel like the story should have shown us what kind of person she is. If she's a very good and a heroic individual, I feel like we should have seen more of that. And maybe the enemy was betting on her saving everybody else, and that would leave herself open for an attack. I feel, that's just the stuff going through my head when I was reading this book, because I like the concept. I like the vision where this story is going, and how the story is supposed to go. But she gets to Earth, and there's a bunch of superheroes already here, and they defend her off the back and fight off the enemy. This right here reminds me of the Teen Titans animated series, when Starfire broke free from her planet, and they was looking for her to arrest her. And the Teen Titans automatically, they came together, Robin, Beast Boy, Cyber, everybody came together to protect her from them. And then they slowly became a team together. That's what this part of the story reminds me of. How, there's really no questions asked. They just kind of perceive this person is bad, this person doesn't seem that evil, and they just take their bets and they end up right. This next part in the story, she unleashes her power, she shows her power, and she takes out the enemy herself. She takes them out and actually wins. And I wonder, why didn't she particularly do this at first? If she was, this powerful, unless it's a Kryptonian situation, she gets her powers on Earth and not her planet, then okay, I completely get it. But if she had this power already on her planet, I feel like she was, already geared enough to fight off the original enemy in question. The story takes place, at this point in the story, she's in the hospital, and she's, this other superhero, Atlas, and they're pretty much going over, just talking about what happened and stuff like that, and they can protect her. And this is pretty much like a new life for her at this point. I feel like her story should lean more towards her being haunted by what happened. I feel like that's where it probably will go in the future, if this is a series that actually continues on, like book 3 and 4 and etc. And overall, I like the vision, right? But as somebody like myself, I do editing and I help people create stories. There's a lot here. There's a lot of good stuff to work with here. And I would have probably added a little something here, a little something there for the story to make it feel more fulfilling over. I feel like what this story did, it hit a lot of particular points, right? It hit bam, bam, bam. It just hit a lot of particular points for the story, and I would have liked a little bit more detail. I've said this before in other stories. I would like a little more detail to lead up to certain things that happen, right? But overall, she gets this new suit and she gets her weapons and she becomes a part of this team, this new earthly superhero team of all these other heroes. And again, this sort of hits a lot of points. Bing, bang, boom. I would like a little bit more detail. I do like the vision. I would have added certain things here and there, but overall the story was okay. And that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys for watching this video. Like, share, and subscribe for more.